ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors on a Monday, a busy Monday, as it was a huge weekend for East Carolina athletics. We'll get into all the results and more as we can. Of course, ECU baseball taking 2 of 3 at the Keith Clare Classic, beating Rutgers and Troy on Friday and Saturday before falling to Western Carolina 2-0 to end the weekend. So we'll get Cliff Godwin's take on that. He is on the road on this Monday, so we're going to catch him in his car along with Coach Palumbo here in around 15 minutes. We'll hear from Coach Godwin, get his reaction to the weekend that was. And Pirates come off a 3-1 week, face a tough challenge at UNCW midweek, and then Coastal Carolina. They'll be on the road all that span as they head down to Conway in a rematch of last year's Conway Regional. We'll get to that as this week progresses. Also, a good weekend for ECU softball. 4-1 women's basketball beats Charlotte to take the number 2 seed in the American tournament. We'll get into the ramifications of that at some point this week. And ECU basketball, just days after announcing the return of Mike Schwartz for next season, plays one of its best games of the year, topping Memphis 84-68. I believe that final was. The Pirates really dominated, controlled the pace throughout that game, especially in the second half, and we'll get into that later in the program. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. If you have a question, comment, concern, feel free to drop it now. We're going to get into, here in segment 1, the return of Mike Schwartz, what it means, the decision. We'll give both angles of it. So if you got anything to say, which, hey, the overall reaction to it has been plenty on Hoist the Colors and online, so we'll get into some of that. Feel free to weigh in. And we are live on YouTube taking your comments for that as well. Philip Pilkington, he's back in the 94.3 The Game studios after a busy weekend, all hands on deck type of weekend. Philip, how you doing?
I'm good, man. It was a good weekend overall. Like you said, all hands on deck. Our staff is wonderful here at IBX Media. Had a lot of moving parts with games being played on Sundays, but hey, we got it done. And overall, like you said, solid weekend. Baseball 2-1, softball 4-1 or 3-1, or 4-1 on the weekend, 5-1 on the week.
It was 4-1, yes.
Yeah, 5-1 on the week. We have that ranked win at Duke. Lacrosse win, men's win, women's win, and a North Texas loss, giving them second place in the conference locked up so they don't have to sweat it going to Tulsa next week. They can just have them a tune-up, get-right game right before the conference tournament because they got to bye to the semifinals.
Automatic bye to the semifinals, which, look, I know some people don't like this format, but I think it's a long regular season. You deserve a high place for what you do during a regular season, so I'm all for it. I mean, in the grand scheme of things. All right, we'll get into that. Let's lead with the big news that was dropped Friday, I believe around 2 o'clock, 2:15. It was announced that Michael Schwartz is going to return for year 5 at ECU. To this point, after the win over Memphis, he is 61-67 overall. They are 29-41 in American play. And coming off a 19-14 season, I think expectations were fairly high going into the offseason. We kind of didn't love some of the additions in the portal, and we kind of saw some of this playing out. The injuries have only exacerbated some of it. But either way, the decision was made. I'll say this off the top. Monitoring Hoist the Colors, which isn't obviously a site dedicated to ECU fans. We run it for the fans. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a job. I knew if this was going to be the decision, it was not going to be met well, generally speaking, because I think people, not everybody, but a lot of people wanted a change given how the season played out. Obviously, John Gilbert has his reasons. We'll get into that. So I'm not surprised that there has been a lot of, kind of negativity and pushback to the decision. We'll get into the ramifications of that. But from the ECU side, I think a lot of this, as maybe a cop-out as it is to say, and some of it is, a lot of it's true, is financially driven. Because ECU extended Coach Schwartz's contract at the end of last year, by a year, and you can argue that decision. That's completely fair. He has 2 years left on his contract after this season, so you'd have to buy out 2 years of his deal. You are also still paying out Mike Houston, who was fired midway through last football season, or the 2 years, you guys know what I'm saying, they're in the 2024 season. His contract runs through December 2026, so they're still paying off that buyout as well, because as far as I know, Mike Houston has not gotten another job. You haven't seen anything, Philip, about Coach Houston getting another job to offset the salary.
Nope.
So that's $1.5 million, $1.4 million, I think ECU's on the hook for. So they're paying off that. You would have to pay out 2 more years of Coach Schwartz. On top of that, realistically speaking, to attract a very proven and quality coach, you would have to, in my opinion, up what you are doing from a fundraising perspective for NIL/revenue share. The number is in a solid place as of this last season, but in order to attract a high-profile candidate, and you can argue again, you don't even need a high-profile candidate. Maybe you just need a solid up-and-coming coach who would come for, $500,000 to $700,000, and he would get, better results. But I'm just arguing from the standpoint of what ECU is looking for. In order to get a high-profile candidate, you probably need to up the rev share for basketball. That means potentially taking money away from football or baseball, on top of having to pay out Coach Schwartz's salary, on top of paying a new coach. So I just think the financial numbers, while it could have been done from my conversations with some people, I think it would have stretched them a bit thin. And so I think ultimately ECU, John Gilbert felt it was not worth, hey, let's just reset everything. They made the decision we're going to play out this season. Coach Schwartz has a foundation in place. We're going to give him another chance to reset the roster, so to speak, because realistically, there's not going to be a ton back from this team. We know Jordan Riley's gone. We know Giovanni Mjuru is gone. Gardner, who's played well, is gone. And we'll see who comes back. But I just think overall, Philip, from ECU's vantage point, they just felt that the cost of the moving parts wasn't quite worth it at this time. And we'll get into the other side of the argument, which is fair, but that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from talking with a lot of people over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of it. There are the logistics part of it. There's the financial part of it. And, like they said, does this give us the best chance to win? To that point, if they would have gone in a different direction, would you have been in less of a spot? Like you said, just having to pay guys out and whatnot. So, it'd really help if Coach Houston would get a job, just regardless. Not saying that would, cause Schwartz to be fired or anything like that. I'm not trying to insinuate that, but in general, you're paying $1 million to Coach Houston, and so therefore your hands are tied. Who knows? Maybe this decision would have been made regardless. This situation is a lot like the situation at NC State was in at this point last year. 2 years, or the year prior, a historic year, and then a year where you missed the conference tournament. NC State did. ECU can still make it. I think we're going to get more on that tomorrow, what the path looks like, but you're going to need some luck. You don't control your own destiny. So, those are similar situations. And, like I said, who knows what John and, and Ryan and whoever else is in part of these decisions would have made had there been a different scenario. But it sounds like this is kind of where they felt like what was best for the athletic department as a whole. And at the end of the day, they are the athletic director, not the basketball director. And there's a lot of different moving parts.
And look, if you would have had ECU, as far as I understand, is spending more than anybody else in the American on NIL and rev share for baseball. And football has gotten, it's not leading the conference, but it's gotten to the point where they are at least in the upper half, probably the upper third. And so I think basketball is at a competitive spot, not a great spot, probably lower half, I would say. And I think if you wanted to get to the upper half, you'd probably have to pull from baseball or football. I don't think anybody wants that. I mean, I'm sure there are fans out there who don't follow college baseball and are like, why is ECU spending on a non-revenue sport? Well, come to Clark LeClaire on Sunday when ECU is playing Western Carolina and there's 5,400 people there. Like, it means a lot to a lot of people. So, like, to me, you just can't take away funds from baseball because it would create a lot of problems. You got some of your highest donors who want to give to baseball. But from talking to people, I do think while there were some donors who were ready for a change, my understanding is there was enough support and enough backing saying, hey, let's give Coach Schwartz one more year. And we will give – I don't think you're going to have the same degree of giving that, maybe a Garrett Blackwater did last year where he had a matching campaign and gave a lot of money. But I think those types of donors, and I can't speak for them specifically because I have not talked to them, but my general understanding is, Philip, is the belief ECU has is they can get enough backing and enough internal revenue share to have a similar fund for men's basketball in 2026, 2027 to be competitive. Now, the difference is ECU can't miss like they did this offseason. You're going to have similar funding, maybe a little less. I don't know the exact revenue share pot, but the general understanding is they'll have enough to be competitive, and now they just can't miss. You can't miss on the guards like you did this year. You have got to hit, and that's the thing that concerns me most is the player evaluation piece of it. Again, we'll get to Sunday's game. These guys play hard. They play their tails off. Coach Schwartz, he's intense. He has a great vision for the program. I just want to see them hit with player evaluation, and that's the next step for me. And who can you bring in, ideally, to help you with that? Because I think we have enough of a sample size now that I'm not sold that that's going to be done, just based off what we've seen over 4 years in terms of putting a whole roster together.
Stephen, I always thought it was hard to recruit. I always thought that was a special talent that only certain coaches had, and that was back in the day when you had to get 3, 4, maximum 5 guys recruited every year. Now you have to recruit 12 guys every year. Even if you're keeping a guy, you have to re-recruit him. There are more players to recruit. There are not more than 24 hours in a day, nor more than 365 days in a year. You have the same amount of time to do 3 to 4 times the work. Coach Perry right now, I thank the world of Coach Perry, but he is an assistant coach and the GM. I think Coach Perry would do good in either one of those roles, but this is not a Coach Perry comment. This is a comment in general that I don't think there's enough hours in the day under the current state of college basketball to be any sort of coach and the general manager. You have too much time you have to dedicate to the current roster if you're a current coach to properly evaluate 12 guys worth of talent, 12 guys worth of character. We can vouch, like you said, they play hard every game. They hit on the character side. Every single one of those young men in that locker room busts their tail. But busting tail doesn't always result in wins. But I think that if you are playing FBS football, you are in the Big East and arguably the Atlantic 10. You need a full-time basketball GM just because there's not enough hours in the day. If we could clone Coach Schwartz or Coach Perry, hey, maybe you wouldn't need a full-time GM, but you can't clone them. So I've been trying to clone Dom for years because I need him to do multiple things at a time. It just doesn't work.
It does feel like they need somebody in that role. It's just who's going to be the guy. Can you get a quality enough candidate at this point? That's a question. My biggest – there's a lot of detractors to this decision. I get it. Year 4, if I'm on that side of the fence, and I brought this argument a lot of times, going into the weekend when this decision was made, Joe Dooley was fired in year 4 for going 15-15, 6-11 in an American that included Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, SMU. Totally different American, much better league.
And a much better Memphis team.
Yeah, much better Memphis team. 183 in the net. Joe Dooley was fired for that. This year, going into the weekend, ECU was 10-18, 5-10 American, 270 in the net. So, to me, it shows differing standards there. Now, Schwartz does have 2 years left on his deal. Dooley had 1. But, again, you extended Schwartz at the end of last year, so that has to be factored in. The other thing is, realistically, Mike Schwartz has a much better relationship with the administration than Joe Dooley did. So I think that had a lot to do with this as well. But I just don't like the precedent it sends. If you're going to fire Coach Dooley for year 4, when he had Tristan Newton on the roster, by the way, who was set to return potentially. Who knows how it would have played out. And now you're going to make this decision now. I just think it's a little bit of different expectations there. So it sends kind of a mixed message to me. I mean, I don't understand how you can argue much different other than you just say the relationship with the administration played a vital role, and maybe that's what it came down to.
It maybe did because I had someone reach out to me and kind of ask the question that you just brought up. They compared the 4 years of Coach Schwartz and the 4 years of Coach Dooley and said, hey, yes, Schwartz's record's a little better, but brought up, kind of who they were playing, the net ranking, what the 4th year looked like, who you had coming back. where obviously, Coach Schwartz doesn't have, his top 3 players are all seniors. So, it's a valid point. I understand it. But I do think, from what I understand, and I had some friends on that staff, the previous staff, that they did not get along as well, like you said, with the athletic, with the administration. There is something to be said for the relationships too, and the chemistry amongst the higher ups and the coaching, and it just is what it is, kind of deal. Not all relationships are created equal. So, if that has something to do with it, I know some people say, well, it shouldn't. Well, it shouldn't be this say all be all. But there is a little bit, I think there's, a gray area, and, I know it's tough when there is gray. It makes it tough to have a true opinion. But, when it's, there is something to be said for relationships. And because when people have better relationships, things get done better. It's easier for them to work together. So, I know it's maybe comparing apples to oranges, but it's just the facts. I mean, that's all we can sit here and do right now.
I'll just say this. I know a lot of longtime season ticket holders who have told me initially that they are not buying season tickets next year. And you've got some people who have said, look, I'm going to support the Pirates. And yeah, I've had some people say they believe in Coach Schwartz. So you have reactions all over the place. But I just think at the end of the day, Coach Schwartz is going to have to win big next year to get people back on the train. Or maybe he wins out this year and they make the tournament go on a run. But this year has been very disappointing to a lot of people, talking to ECU fans. So I just think there's a lot of goodwill that needs to be rebuilt. Is it possible to have a season this poorly and bounce back the next year? My best example, Philip, would be look at Tulsa under Eric Conkle. Now, the difference is he was very good at Louisiana Tech. They never made the NCAA, but he had a history of winning there. But at Tulsa, he went 5-25, 16-15, 13-20 last year. Nobody expected him to be good this year. 23-6, 11-5. I mean, these rosters are still rebuilt every single year, win or lose. So it's almost like just a roll of the dice at this point. It's just you have to hit this offseason is what it comes down to.
You do.
It can be done.
It can be done, but then just kind of playing devil's advocate on that is, at Louisiana Tech, now he wasn't coaching there as in the full NIL transfer portal era. It was kind of his last couple of years there were that way, but he had hit on rosters before, whereas, you and I kind of did a show, 2-3 weeks ago about, just previous recruiting classes and how many guys stayed, especially the guard struggles. So I think that's where, everybody says, oh, same revenue share possibly next year, they didn't hit this year. But to be fair, they hit last year. They hit on C.J. Walker. They hit on Jordan Riley. So, it's – I guess I see both sides of my point.
All right, we got to get a break in. We got to get to Cliff Godwin on the road. We'll do that. I promise we'll get to as many comments. We got a lot, as you would expect. We'll do that segment 3. Also talk more about the Memphis game because it was a really good performance by the Pirates coming off this announcement. But look, I just felt compelled to address it from both sides because it's a big story. It's men's basketball. It should be a big story. A decision on the coaching future of Mike Schwartz. So we discussed that. We'll get more into that segment 3. But Cliff Godwin coming up next, recapping the Pirates' 3-1 week in baseball.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors.
Pirates play here.
Time to play the game!
This is Hoist the Colors with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
This is our weekly chat with head coach Cliff Godwin. A little different this time. On the road, he and Coach Palumbo are in the car, so we're getting them over the phone, and we may get Coach Palumbo to weigh in as well at some point. But Coach Godwin, Pirates are coming off a 3-1 week. They win 2 in the LeClaire Classic, also beat Charleston midweek. And just your thoughts on a 3-1 week, a winning week overall, Coach.
I thought, after the Friday game in North Carolina, our guys really responded in a positive way and, played really well on Saturday in Durham. And then, we're playing good baseball. On the Sunday game, we tied. And North Carolina's obviously a very good team, and we're a good team. And then we go down to Fayetteville, and I thought we played really well, especially defensively. We made some web gems. Nick Barham came off the bench, made a big-time play in the ninth inning. We really swung the bats well. Probably even better than the 8 runs that were on the board. I think we had 14 quality at bats in a row to start the game, which I don't know if that's ever happened in my head coaching career. And then we just had a bad 8th inning on the mound, and they tied it up, and we went out there and responded, which was awesome, and scored a run, and Sean closed it out. And thought Friday was awesome for Norby to get back out there and look like himself. And I said this in my post game, but Rutgers is really, really dangerous offensively, especially the top part of their lineup. And Norby made it look somewhat easy, but they're really offensive. And then we swung the bats awesome. And then Saturday was a really well-played college baseball game. You look at it, I don't think either team had an error. We only had one free 90 the entire game, which JP and I were talking. I don't know if I've ever coached in a game as an assistant or a head coach where there's only one free 90, and it was the strike 3 that got by Walker. And then Walker, of course, makes the big play in the 8th inning to throw the guy out to get us off the field. And it was just a well-pitched game on both sides, and we scored 5. We had 4 2-out RBIs. And, things are rolling. And then yesterday, I thought we pitched awesome. And, they got a good lefty that's a freshman, and we let him settle in. And then Western's older, and, of course, they're up for the game. And I just didn't think we matched their intensity from a mental standpoint and the competitive at-bats that we needed to scratch some runs. We had some balls hard right at people, but not enough. And it was uncharacteristic, in my opinion, from what we have looked like since Friday, after Friday's game at UNC. And that's on me, and we'll learn from it. But I can tell you what, man, we better get ready to play with some edge this week when we got 4 games on the road. So today's an off day for our guys. Coach Palumbo and I are going up to Joey Ragulia's celebration of life. We'll practice tomorrow, and then we'll get on the bus on Wednesday and go to UNCW, play them, and then just keep going down to Coastal because we'll practice at Coastal on Thursday and then have a weekend series with them.
Coach Cliff Godwin joining us on the road. And, Coach, I know I asked you after the game, but like this early in the season, 3 weeks in, you're kind of your team can learn lessons almost every time out. They face new challenges, and out of 12 games in, do you feel like this was the first time they maybe – and you mentioned the position players didn't kind of show up with that look in their eyes. That, can that be a wake-up call for them going forward?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we've taken a lot of confidence in, at least to this point, is it's a good group. We got a really good leadership group, a core group of guys that are about the right things. These guys do care. It wasn't just position players, guys in the dugout. I mean, their dugout was way more into it than our dugout. So we need to learn from it because, like I said, if we don't have that look in our eye, we go out there, we're putting ourselves at risk that a guy's really good on the mound on the other side. And, we only gave up 2 runs. I mean, we've been shut out twice at home. Like, that's very uncharacteristic. Dakara was awesome, and not taking anything against Western Carolina, but like we can't score 1 run in 9 innings. That is not East Carolina baseball. And we'll get them back right, but we need to learn from it for sure.
I want to get more into some specifics with you, Coach, but just again, Keith LeClaire, and everything that his legacy has brought to ECU, the ALS recognition that you guys do to beat this awful disease, that was well on display this past weekend, as it always is. The LeClaire family in town, Matt Stillwell with the 723 Foundation he started in town, who played for Coach LeClaire at Western Carolina, and Mustache March underway as well. And just always a great reminder just, to keep attacking that disease and raise money for it. So I'll just give you the platform to, again, talk about that and everything that went into the weekend with the LeClaire family back in town.
Well, number one, it just means so much to me that Lynn, she's always here. And Audrey's been to everyone, and JD has been to most of them. Now JD's a father and married, so he's got other responsibilities. But Lynn's got a granddaughter now, Ivy, so I know she's excited about that. But it was just awesome. I spent a little bit of time with them, the entire family, yesterday morning in my office, and just what they've meant to me personally, but also to our university, and to continue to raise awareness about ALS. It's such a terrible disease, and to try to help strike it out one day. And Matt Stillwell, who played for Coach at Western, and he wanted to come back, and he has a foundation. So we're just trying to hit it on all fronts and raise awareness, raise money, and to one day strike out ALS.
Cliff Godwin with us, ECU head baseball coach, on the road on this Monday, our weekly chat. And Coach Gavin Van Kempen, 3rd straight start. He's had really good stuff, looked really good. And, we talked to him for the first time after the game. I was just kind of impressed with his mature approach, and says, he credited Austin Knight for a lot of the changes he's made that has led to his success. What have you seen out of Gavin Van Kempen through 3 starts and what he's brought to your program?
Yeah, GVK has done a really good job. I mean, Coach Knight and, Jake Ackos as well with his mentorship, just being around the guys. They've done a really good job with GVK. And he's taken the coaching. He's gotten a lot better since the day he stepped foot on campus. And he's been very mature about the way he's gone about his business on the pitching side of things. So it's been very fun to watch his maturation, so to speak, even in less than a year that he's been here. But he's got really good stuff, and as you can see, he can get hitters out at a high level with multiple pitches that are really good.
We saw Brandon Tolik pitch out of the bullpen for the first time at home, Coach, on Sunday, and his stuff looked pretty electric. And how tough is it for you guys as coaches not to push him out there a little more? Because I know you want to be careful ramping him back up, but obviously that stuff plays pretty well. So just the approach with him, and how is he coming along?
He's coming along, but the thing is, when you get him up, you got to pitch him. So that's the unique thing. And we had talked before the game, and he said, hey, look, we can, use Brett in an emergency in the 9th inning, but it takes him a while, so you've got to let him know multiple innings in advance just to get going to make sure we don't put him at risk with an injury. But yeah, he's got really good stuff, and it's just awesome to see him go out there, and it can be electric at times, as you can see. So definitely he's going to be in multiple different roles for us. I'm not sure who's going to start at UNCW yet, but we've been opening him because then we can know, hey, how much time he needs to get ready to go. But he did a really good job out of the bullpen for the first time last night, so that was good to see.
And, Coach, obviously Nick Moran, you can see the stuff better this year, the command's better. But to me, like, just looking at his body language, it looks, he just looks so much more comfortable, confident. And do you agree with that assessment? And what changes or what mentality changes he made to kind of find this early success?
Well, I spent a lot of time with Nick Moran his first year. And, Nick's had some demons he's had to fight off the field, and he's been through a lot of stuff personally off the field. And I credit his girlfriend and her family because my mentorship, for whatever reason, it didn't, hit home enough to get him to make some changes off the field. And I'm so proud of him. I don't have to spend a lot of time with him because he's just cleaned up his life off the field. And it's been awesome to watch him grow and mature and really just be free mentally. But he stayed back this summer and cleaned up his body and worked with our strength coach and worked on some mechanical things that he needed to clean up. And it's just been like an adult out there, and you don't have to worry about him off the field. And he's about the right things, and he wants to pitch any role that we give him. But yesterday it could have went sideways very quickly. First and second, no outs. He comes in and even gets behind the hitter 3-1, and then ends up striking him out. And we get out of the inning, and we're still only down 2-0. That was a big moment in the game to keep us there, especially when we weren't swinging the bats great.
And just overall, Coach, how would you assess the pitching staff at this point, the pitching depth? I mean, it seems like your top arms are really establishing themselves early, and we know the bullpen roles take time to shake out. And do you feel like it's really coming together how you guys envisioned it? Is it still going to be a few more weeks for these roles are solidified? Do you like the way it's shaking out right now?
The pitchers have done a great job, but it definitely never shakes out how you probably initially have it in your head as coaches, and it will continue to evolve. And we didn't have to throw a lot of pitchers this weekend, and I'm sure there's some guys down there chomping at the bit to be ready to pitch, but they will get opportunities, and then we just need to prepare them and have them ready because, it's a long season and guys get sore and, unfortunately there are injuries. So we got to keep getting different guys out there. And, Joe Webb looked better yesterday, but hung a 0-2 pitch and then hit a guy bunting, but we got to keep him in the right headspace. And he's a guy that's been out there in the fire before, so he's going to get back right. And then some of those guys that haven't pitched a ton, like Gavin Marley and Charlie Hoagland and Ethan Rose, and Boucher hadn't been out there yet. So there's a lot of guys. Luke Payne will continue to get opportunities. We've got to get Frank Saccone back out there as well. So a lot of guys that have the ability, and we'll continue to run those guys out there.
Position player-wise, Matt Lashley, Coach, had a huge week, and just really since returning, he said he's still battling through kind of that hamstring deal. But since returning, he's really solidified the defense, the lineup. Just what are you seeing from him and what he brings to the field every day?
Just a gritty, dirty baseball player, baseball rat, and he's probably swinging the bat a little bit better than we anticipated, but the guy's always competed in the box. But he has given us a spark. I mean, he sparked us on Saturday with a solo shot. We were down 1-0, and he tied it up in those middle innings. And played great defense, and he's putting together really, really competitive at-bats. Yes, he's getting hits, but if you watch the totality of his at-bats, he just competes. He's gritty. He doesn't give pitches away at the plate, and that's all we can ask for him.
And I thought, Coach, you can share your thoughts. So, well, Jack Vogeley, he hit some balls hard this weekend, maybe didn't have a ton to show for it in that DH spot. How do you feel like his adjustment's been, to the Division I level, making that jump from junior college, and do you feel like more results are coming for him if he keeps putting up these at-bats?
Yeah, I definitely feel like more results are coming. Jack works extremely hard, probably too hard at times, and he'll go in there and tweak his swing at times, and nobody knows it. And then we're having to pull up video and go, "Hey, dude, why are you doing this?" But Jack is he's a great hitter. I think he's going to really, really have a good year. I really do believe that because he's one of our best hitters, and I think he can be one of the best hitters in the country. And he uses the whole field. I mean, he crushed that ball yesterday to right center, and the guy made a really good play on it. But he's really going well when he's using the whole field.
We also saw Colby Wallace have 3 hits in the Saturday game. I know the Ofer on Sunday, but do you feel like he's starting to, hit against Rutgers? Well, he's starting to come out of it too, and we know obviously you can't have everybody clicking on all cylinders at one time. Coach, what do you see out of Colby?
Well, that's the goal. The goal is to have him clicking on all cylinders. But Seawall's a worker. I mean, he, when Coach Palumbo and I pulled out this morning in the parking lot, he's in there, hitting with Coach Gautreaux and Coach Packard and Braid Burst, at 10:45 this morning. But, yeah, Coach Gautreaux, Coach Pack, myself, watching the game on Friday night, and I'm texting Goat, and I'm like, hey, man, we need to make some adjustments because he works so hard, but this is too technical. He's not a good loader. So basically to stand him up a little bit taller and he kind of falls into his swing, kind of like not to the extreme level of Burley, but that's kind of the way I described it to Goat. And and it's kind of tricky because you're doing it in the middle of a weekend, and but Colby's played enough baseball that doesn't freak out about that stuff. And it was just great to see that he got some barrels this past weekend.
All right, Cliff Godwin, Coach Palumbo on the road. This last question for Coach Palumbo. Who talks more over a multi-hour car trip, Coach, you or Coach Godwin?
Good question. Man, I would say probably Coach Godwin. Coach Godwin bringing up some questions. So, yeah, we get some quality time here on the road. So we got about 9 hours together. So hopefully we can figure out how to get some wins this week.
Hey, well, hopefully I didn't bore you guys too much over these 15 minutes or so. But appreciate it, guys. As always, y'all stay safe on the road. And thanks for everything, as always, Cliff, with the interview.
All right. Thanks, Igo. Appreciate it.
Thanks, David.
Absolutely. That's Coach Palumbo and Coach Godwin on the road on this Monday. We'll be right back on Hoist the Colors with more.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU Athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport in Greenville.
Get ready to board.
We're live with Steve Nago on 94.3 The Game. Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
Segment 3 here. We'll get back to basketball after our chat with Coach Godwin, and we'll jump back into some comments here. We discussed the Mike Schwartz news in segment 1, Philip Pilkington alongside. We'll get to some of these comments and react accordingly. Also got to recap the Memphis game as well. Ryan Cole says, I would have to guess that John Gilbert must have received some sort of commitment from major donors to feel comfortable moving forward with this decision, end quote. Yeah, we got into that a little bit earlier. I think that was a big reason why. Not that there weren't some donors who maybe wanted a change, but I think at the end of the day, they felt like they had enough backing to run it back, so to speak. Cameron adds, quote, I'm sorry, but it's a horrible look when the administration admits that the football and baseball are primary focus, and then we go out and get shut out by Western Carolina. End quote. I mean, I get what you're saying, Cameron, but it's also baseball. It's not like one game defines the season. So I wouldn't read too much into that. Lane says this baseball team has 20 losses in it. Let's hope not, Lane. We know Lane loves to overreact.
We knew he was coming in with some negative baseball comments. Hey, Lane, your Flyers beat my Bruins. Be happy. You had a good weekend.
Davy Jones says basketball just needs better players. Coaches coach, but players play. But who recruits those players, Davy Jones? The coaches. Let's recruit better players that can make shots consistently. Hey, when shots go in like Sunday, it makes quite a difference. ECU with one of its better shooting games this season. Kenny Curlin says, guess we couldn't find a donor to write that check to move on, end quote. And maybe, look, the sense I've gotten in the past from talking with some high-up donors is that they would rather spend that big check money to buy out a Mike Houston when things aren't going well on the football side. I think that you had some of that. You have some of that still being paid off, which is another reason why you can only pay off so many buyouts at one time. And again, should the extension have been done in the first place? That's a fair argument, but it's a reason for the potential decision today. Charles adds, quote, even though I don't agree with Mike returning, I understand that you can't keep paying buyouts. I believe they are waiting for Mike Houston's buyout to clear first. The other side of this is, and I don't know if the administration will ever admit this, but this is just me talking. I think ECU going into the season expected to have a solid basketball season, and as a result, maybe just weren't prepared to make a change, whether it be financially, whether it be coaching candidates list. Coming off the 2-10 football season, bringing back Mike Houston, I think ECU was prepared to make a change in football if it needed to happen. It ended up needing to happen. So that could be one of the reasons why, hey, let's don't make the change now, but if we have to, we'll have a plan in place for next season if it goes south again. Davy Jones adds, quote, basketball needs 2 reliable three-point shooters, 1 shutdown defensive player, a good shot blocker, and a stud power forward. I would say ECU's got – does ECU have a shutdown defensive player? I mean, Jordan Riley, I guess, would be the closest thing. He's not really a reliable three-point shooter, even though we've seen his shot coming back. We have a reliable big in Gio, but, I don't know. There's different ways to construct a team.
Yeah, I don't think we have a true shutdown defender right now. I mean, they're shutdown defenders can play ISO ball against the top players in the country, and, you feel good about the defensive guy. So no. But, that's the tough thing. How do you want to construct the roster? I mean, that's a conversation for another day. We don't have the time to get into all that. But, I think there's going to have to be somebody who can shoot. And, hey, maybe Corey Cocker's finally learning to shoot. It seems like it. He was 3 for 7 from beyond the arc yesterday. He's definitely been shooting better. But still, I don't want to go on with Corey Cocker as like our only shooter next year.
And to me, look, I'm just going to be honest. If I'm bringing anybody back from this team, I am not paying them much at all. Like, it's just, hey, you want your spot next year, you're going to have to come and earn it. Because I just think the sample size we've seen, and maybe it can be a blessing in disguise, Phillip, and who knows, maybe these guys expect to get paid a lot. But, like, let's say you bring back Calker, Delorier, and Jay Shane and Trevi also return. And maybe I'm missing somebody like a Reed Kaysen. Like, to me, those guys are solid depth. And if you can get them at a reasonable rate without spending too much money, then I'm fine for it. But I'm taking all my revenue share and I'm going to buy some new players because I've just seen too big of a sample size. And I know we've talked about Corey Calker, JUCO guy. Sometimes it takes a half a season to get into game speed at the D1 level, and it looks like that's kind of the case. But to me, like, you look at his numbers, if he were to go into the transfer portal, I don't see how he would get recruited at a high level at all. So I would try to get a discount on some of these guys, and maybe that ends up being a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it might be because the weird thing, like you said, with Corey especially, like the sample size is big, and it's more bad than good. But also, Cy Seymour said it. Other guys have said it. Guys who know more about hoops than we do. It takes till mid to late January when you make the jump from JUCO, and if you just take Corey's numbers from February on, I still don't think maybe he's lived up to quite what advertised, but he's showing flashes. I wouldn't be opposed to retaining him, but again, not paying him a lot and just saying, hey, there's no guarantee you're going to start or even be part of the 8 to 9 man rotation. You got to go out there and earn it. But like he's shown me enough here down the stretch that we can do it. Also, slightly off topic, I just got a text from TJ Long, said they had about 30 for the letter winners weekend this weekend for Pirate basketball. So great turnout by the letter winners, and TJ does a great job. He's the one who coordinates all that. So shout out to him. And there was a lot of people there for basketball the other day.
Yeah, it was good to see that turnout. Also good to see the team play well for the letter winners. I mean, those guys, some of them only return to that one game a year, and it's always good to have that positive experience. So good to see that those guys were honored during the game as well at halftime. So that was cool. And TJ doing a great job with that. Keep that rolling, TJ. Calker now in the season, 7.4 points per game, 29% from three-point range. The one thing he does have is the assist-to-turnover ratio, 112 to 45. We'll get more into this in our offseason discussion, but also Johnny Robertson adding in his first 14 games. Calker was 18% from three in the last 15 games. He's 40%. He had 2 turnovers in the first 140 of the game yesterday, followed up with an 11 assists to 1 turnover. And look, he's definitely made a jump. And again, I'm fine bringing him back. I just don't want to go into next year with him as the guy. Like, that's just not something I think if you don't learn from this season's mistakes, then what are we even doing? And I'm fine with him being a piece, and I'm fine with him challenging the point guard that they bring in. But you got to get another guy there, ideally, to battle with him. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. We'll talk about the Memphis game specifically, what went right yesterday, get to any final comments as well.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today.
Loyal and bold with purple and gold.
Yo ho ho!
And we're back to Hoist the Colors with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Final segment here, final few minutes. Let's talk ECU Memphis. Philip Hookington alongside on this Monday. Somebody in the chat wants to cancel basketball and give all the money to baseball, football. We're not having that discussion again. I do wonder, though, if Memphis is thinking about canceling basketball after Sunday's performance. 84-68 loss. They've lost 6 in a row. They may miss the tournament. We'll get more into the tournament path for ECU tomorrow. But Penny Hardaway, for the first time, just looked completely dejected. No animation on the sideline. Didn't even really care. And Memphis players kind of followed his suit, Philip, and credit East Carolina for playing their tails off. I'll give a major shout-out to Luke Davis, who every time he is on the floor, he is just hustling his butt off. You had Dimitri Gardner have an awesome diving play in transition one time to take a ball from Memphis. And ECU really just dominated this game, led for 34-39, only trailed for 3 minutes of action in the second half, basically led the entire time by double digits. Memphis made a few runs, but you can just look at Memphis. They are uber talented. Not as skillful as past years, but like they just look like a basketball team, but they don't play like one. And then ECU, we've talked about it. Look, they could easily mail this thing in. What do they really have to play for? Obviously a shot at the conference tournament, but I think the season has been easily tough enough where they could just kind of go through the motions here, and they're not. And I thought this was an appropriate way for the team to answer, the Mike Schwartz news, and I was happy for the players on Sunday and everybody involved for a really quality win.
Yeah, look, they wanted it from the opening tip. And, Coach Schwartz was asked in his postgame presser, it seemed like your team wanted it more. And he's like, well, I'm not going to ever, disrespect or put words in another coach's mouth and disrespect the opposing team and say they didn't want it. But he's like, our guys sure as heck wanted it, kind of deal. And they did, man. Those guys played a full 40 minutes. And I think it was pretty clear about 6 or 8 minutes into the game that ECU was probably going to win that contest because ECU wanted to be there, and to be honest, it felt like Memphis didn't. And look, they're under 500 in a bad league, man. They have got to be having some conversations over there right now. I'm surprised there's not been any action yet. There should have been action probably a couple weeks ago, but now, they're going to they've got to win out pretty much to make the tournament.
We were talking about Coach Schwartz maybe losing his job for missing the conference tournament. Memphis spends the most in basketball, and it's not even close. And I know they have had some injuries this season, but they just, you want to talk about missing, they just flat out missed and have no chemistry, it seems like. And
I've had more
credit
chemistry
ECU.
playing pickup basketball than those guys had.
Yes, I mean it was tough to watch. Ryan in the chat says the only reason I watched the game was to see how the team would respond to the Mike Schwartz news. By the way, Jordan Riley's dunk, he goes for 31, 12, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. That dunk was vicious. And seeing the replay, it did not do it justice. You were in the building, right, Philip?
Yeah, I was there.
I just feel like when he went baseline, you could just feel he was determined. He's gone for the slam a few times this year, but man, like he finished that as well as you can finish one of those, and right over a dude who I think is like 6'10" or so. Made him
did he make
like
top
a
plays?
beanpole. I did not watch. I'm about done watching SportsCenter, but if not, then somebody failed at their job.
Yeah, for sure. He did that, and then he had the windmill like 2 possessions later. I would look down at my phone for something when he went to go get the steal 2 possessions later, and James tapped me, and he was like, hey, he's about to do it again. So, yeah. Oof.
Yeah, what a fun way to go out senior day. There will be another home game, obviously, Thursday, but they honored the seniors yesterday. Eli DeLaurier, 11 points. Now, look, if we can just get him to quit fouling, Philip, maybe he can start scoring some more. But 16 minutes, 11 points, I'll take it.
I'll take it, man. He's been a lot better. He kept us in that Wichita State game. Okay, he should have not picked up that 4th foul. You can't do that. However, he should have been subbed out of the game. Coach Schwartz is trying to sub, and the officials don't even look at the scores table and just administer the throw-in. You wait an extra split second, especially when you know a guy just picked up a foul to be in foul trouble. American continuing to give us crap officials. Thanks, Mike Eads.
Some things will never change. By the way, Reed Case and Luke Davis had 8 in the win. Dimitri Gardner 6. Giovanni Umadru only 4, but Pirates win it due to some hot shooting. 53% from the floor, 50% from three-point range. All right, we are out of time. We'll get more into the Keith LeClaire Classic takeaways tomorrow. Also, ECU's path to the conference tournament. We'll break that down on the men's side. Also, get more into the women's side as well. Tuesday will be a busy show. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate Cliff Godwin, Coach Colombo for joining us on the road. We'll be back Tuesday, 12 noon. We'll see you then.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Get a recap of this show at 943thegame.com and on your IBX Media app, on Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Tune in weekdays at noon to get your ECU